iPad rules for an elementary classroom. Many classes these days have technology. We might see iPods, iPads, computers, smartboards, and much more. One of the most important elements to technology is being aware of the rules and etiquette while using these devices. This presentation will take you through a lesson that a teacher could use to teach iPad rules to a primary elementary class. It is very important for students to have a buy-in with these iPad rules, and what better way than to include the class in the rule-making process. A great way to do this is have them sit on the carpet and brainstorm what rules would seem important when using iPads for learning. There are many ways to brainstorm, but one engaging way to do it is introduce the Popplet app, either on a DocuCam or smartboard in front of the class. Tell them that this is just one app out of many that they will have fun learning how to use this year. Create the title, iPad Rules, onto Popplet and plug in ideas that the students are saying. Some responses I have heard in the past are, don't run with the iPad, or carry it with two hands, or don't go on things the teacher didn't say were okay, and be careful. After you've confirmed and plugged in all of the students' great responses into Popplet, you will say that you want to show them a poster board that you've created with many of their same ideas on it, as well as a few others that they may or may not have thought of. These are going to be the official iPad rules for the class. Show them the first rule that says, I will wash my hands before using the iPad. Have them look at their hands, have a discussion about it. See if they're dirty. Explain that clean hands only can touch the iPad. We definitely wouldn't want germs on it. And to remember the first rule, there's a chant to go with it, kind of like a song. And it goes, iPad rule 1 is wash your hands. You use hand gestures to help embed the idea or the word in their brains. Once you've practiced that a few times, move on to the second rule, which is, I will always use two hands when carrying the iPad. And here's the chant to go with it. iPad rule 2 is use two hands. What you would do is hold up two fingers, showing the number 2, and then after that, you hold up both of your hands at the end. And you would just keep practicing and repeating, and then when you would feel comfortable and you think the students are ready to move on, then you can add on. The next rule, number 3, is I will make sure I always know where my iPad is. And the chant to go with it is, iPad rule 3 is know where it's at. And you would take your fingers, your hands, and almost make binoculars and put them up to your eyes like you're trying to see something. Rule number 4 is I will make sure to have an adult plug in my iPad. And the chant to go with it is iPad rule 4 is adults plug in. And basically all you do with your hands is you hold up one hand in the air, closed fingers, and your other hand you make an O out of your fingers, and you come and you hit or kind of touch the other hand that's standing up with closed fingers. So it's supposed to look like the O hand is the plug, and the other hand with the palm up and everything standing up, the plug is going into it. Now on to rule number 5. I will only use apps and programs my teacher has instructed me to use. And the chant is, iPad Rule 5 is apps my teacher says. And this is where, again, like Rule 4, your one hand is up with closed fingers and your palms facing forward, like showing the students. And your other hand, you have your pointer finger poking at the other hand, like where the palm is. And that represents basically you're pointing to like the apps on an iPad. And so far we've gone through rules 1 through 5. And this patterning and this repetition, it really works well in almost a song-like genre. And it really helps the students memorize the rules. Last but not least, rule number 6, no food or liquids around the iPad ever. Now the chant is very similar. It goes, iPad rule 6 is no foods or liquids ever. So you really drive in that ever point, and the kids love the ending. They almost yell it out, and it's just very prominent. They love the ending of that part. And basically just practice, repeat, practice, repeat. Now you don't want to go overboard in one day's session and overwhelm the kiddos, but practice makes perfect, and they have fun with this. So even if you just did a couple rules one day, and then the next day move on to another couple rules, and take a week to do it, that's fine as well. It's at your own pace, whatever you feel the students are up to. Now, after the lesson is over, you would want to show the iPad acceptable use policy form to the students. And you could do this on the DocuCam or just hold it up so they can see. And they're going to end up taking this home and going over it with their parents as well, or their families at home. And there's a line for them to put a check mark next to each rule. And this is them taking responsibility for each and every rule. And at the bottom of the page, there's a spot for their signature and their parents' signature. And so this gives some responsibility to the parents too, so they know what's expected with the iPads in the classroom with their child. And from time to time, I have had to pull out the form out of their file, and let's say a particular student is having a hard time following iPad rules or did some digital citizenship, and that form comes in really handy. I pull it out and go to the student and say, you know, look at this one rule. You know, you checked it off and you said you were going to be responsible for it and you signed it. So what's going on here? You know, maybe we need to be working a little harder at this one rule and really being more responsible about it. So that form comes in handy at times. I really hope this lesson was helpful. It's at least a jumping off point for students just entering the school year, or students getting or using their iPads for the first time. And I really think overall with digital citizenship, as well as just the iPad rules part, students need to learn, especially in school, that iPads are used for learning and they're not a toy. Yes, they can definitely be fun, but we have to take care of them, know the rules, and be responsible.